she's like, there's a hole. Oh, she's dead now. You should have swung it after I died at him.
Saw dudes, I'm a big fan of Wamai. In fact, he's been one of my most played operators on defense since he was released in Shifting Tides. I like the AUG on defense. I like the fact that the placement of his gadget is more flexible than Jaeger's, allowing him to be more tricky with them, placing them in spots where the enemy might not expect them. Plus, the fact that they're only disabled by Thatcher's EMPs as opposed to Jaeger's ADS, which is destroyed outright, is another great benefit. But Wamai is in a pickle of a pick rate problem, and it's not just as a result of him being an expensive operator. He hasn't exactly had that much presence in Pro League recently. And the next thing you're going to say is, fuck Pro League. But I like to use competitive as a measurement for operator balance, so get over it. Chances are if an operator isn't doing that great in competitive, they're not doing that hot. A while back, I did a video on the Disrupt page talking about Wamai's pick rate during one particular North America playday that I analyzed before the end of the last season. Link in the description if you want to watch it. But the long and short of it is, Wamai has only been picked when Jaeger is around. Why? The easiest answer to give is that Wamai on his own isn't as good as Jaeger. There are some situations where Wamai is better than a Jaeger, like if you're trying to stop a Yellow Stairs take on Consulate when you're holding the top floor. Jaeger doesn't counter the Capitao bolts that will usually be used to push the Yellow Stairs player out, but Wamai does. In fact, one of Wamai's most helpful strengths is his ability to counter Capitao firebolts, but that doesn't necessarily justify bringing a Wamai over a Jaeger every round, and Jaeger is still definitely a bit of a no-brain pick. Not like, if you're picking him, you're not using your brain. It's more like, are you really using your brain if you're not picking him? Because he has the strongest counter to the massive amounts of clearing utility that the attackers are bringing more and more of, by the way, to counter deployable shields and whatnot. He also has a good primary weapon. That was the whole point of knocking him down to 2-speed, to mitigate his fragging power, and to keep him from being a one-size-fits-all kind of character. He will still have a very high pick rate, if not the same in competitive, in my opinion, because the gadget hasn't been touched. And Wamai will be brought to supplement the already potent amount of gadget soak Jaeger is bringing to the table. As much as it is easy to complain about the massive amount of crap defenders can bring that the attackers have to clear, when you're on defense, if you want to win in a LAN, you're going to bring all that crap on defense. Wamai on his own doesn't have a performance floor as high as Jaeger, due to the fact that Jaeger can set all of his gadgets and forget about them even after death. But Wamai still has a higher performance floor than a number of defenders right now, and he makes a Jaeger defense into a Jaeger plus defense, ensuring that any gaps that were missed in the defense by Jaeger are already taken care of. But I don't think that Wamai is supposed to be Jaeger's sidekick. I think Wamai wants to be his own guy, and I think Ubisoft wants him to be too. This is one of the questions that I shot to Jean-Baptiste Hallé, lead game designer at Ubisoft for Rainbow Six Siege, who I got the chance to interview during my time with the Operation Steel Wave capture event via online video chat. Here's the question, and the answer. Talking about getting a Jaeger alternative of some kind, considering his pick rate is extremely high, and when we're talking about statistics, we're looking at figures like that as an outlier. I'm sure you're more versed in that sort of thing than myself. I took one statistics class in college, of course, just the basic one, but I aced it, so I felt pretty good about that. He's only really showing up in combination with Jaeger. So it's like he's not really being treated by the comp scene as an alternative to Jaeger as much as a supplement to Jaeger to already bolster that defense.
That's very true.
Do you think the projectile meta could get adjusted to make Wamai a little bit more popular, and is that something that the team's kind of looking at?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. We're absolutely looking at that from both perspectives. We're looking at ways to make because I guess Jaeger right now is just easier to use in most cases. Wamai is potentially more flexible, but Jaeger, you just put down your magpies and just the only thing you have to focus on for the rest of the round is your gunplay. So we're looking at it from both perspectives. We're trying to to imagine ways of making Jaeger's gadget usage a bit more active throughout the round, and we're also looking at ways for just Wamai to be a more attractive choice altogether. So we're looking at that right now with the balancing cell, absolutely.
2 points there. Jaeger could be getting adjustments to his gadget to make it a bit more active in its usage, and of course make Wamai more attractive, which is a nice way of saying to buff Wamai. Making Jaeger's gadget more active in its playstyle I think could be interpreted in 2 ways, and it's sort of what we ended up getting with Kapkan when he got his rework a long time ago. Kapkan's trap used to be lethal, but they had a big giant red laser exposing them, which essentially made running into them more of a matter of not paying attention than anything else. This tends to still be the case with Kapkan traps, since the laser is not visible anymore. But it will only kill tagged opponents, so there's a trade-off. He also got switched from 3 armor to 2 armor, and since we all seem to believe that speed is more important than armor, then we can reasonably state that Kapkan got a buff as a result of the rework. The way I see it, making Jaeger's gadget more active will have to be done in a way that ultimately benefits the operator more than hurting him, because at the end of the day, turning Jaeger's Splody snipers into active gadgets that require player interaction would mostly be seen by people as a nerf. And that's going to tick a lot of people off, especially after the damage nerf he got to his gun and his recent speed nerf. If you want Jaeger to remain a roamer and be able to move around the map as well as use his gadget, you can't tweak the active setting on the gadget too much, otherwise it's going to ruin an aspect of his kit, and it's going to ultimately change the way he plays. Maybe we're just now learning that Jaeger should never have been designed as a roamer with this sort of gadget in the first place. Or maybe we should have just taken away one of the ADSs and called it a day. I think Mozzie is a good example of a 2-speed roamer right now that has an active component to his gadget that is occasionally used, but since drones can also act as passive utility, he can get into cameras to move the drone, then quickly get out of them to make a play. I think that one solution for Jaeger's gadget to have an active component is to allow them to snipe an indefinite amount of projectiles for a certain amount of time. That could be one option, and he could do this with a button press. The more effective nature of the gadget is counterbalanced by the fact that Jaeger must press a button for it to be done. That's one idea I have out of a potential myriad of solutions. In terms of Wamai though, I think the immediate solution to making him more appealing is to just give him another disc. Considering he only gets 5 at the moment, he can't really cover the same amount of projectile ground as Jaeger can, even though Wamai's projectile variety is higher in terms of what he can counter. But I think giving Wamai too many discs, that has the potential to just make the utility dump meta even worse, and I personally don't want to see too much done in this side until the attackers have more options to deal with the amount of defender utility currently on the board. Right now, Ace is a decent step in the right direction, but we can't just keep adding operators forever. Eventually, we're going to have to find a solution to this problem. What do you guys think? What's your solution to make Wamai more appealing? Let me know in the comments below, and subscribe to the channel for more operator content like this. I'll see you guys around. Take care. Deuces.
Yeah.